come to the bold analysis. The Kenya National Commission on Human Rights reports that at least 61 people had died in the protest, with accusations of excessive force, live rounds being used against predominantly peaceful protesters. And by the way, just on that note, there is a gentleman who was taken to Nyeri. I've just gotten that information. Nyeri level 4 hospital. Is it Nyeri level 4? Not is in a Nyeri hospital? Yes, I think that is more correct. Nyeri District Hospital, and he was taken when he was semi-conscious. So what the doctors are saying is they remember he was asked the name, some young man, and he said he was called Thuku. He just said Ngari Thuku, and then he was taken to ICU on the same day, 25th of June, and after that he passed on in ICU, while in ICU. Now for the last 2 months, the family is yet to be identified. No one has come to claim the body. Of course, the law does not allow the hospital to share the images of the deceased person. So the family cannot be able to trace Thuku. He's a young man in his early 20s. So you can see such stories are really telling us about the extent of that brutality. Now, the situation has actually intensified the scrutiny on William Ruto administration, who is facing mounting pressure from civil society groups demanding the president to be accountable. And during the recent town hall meeting in Kisumu, the president shamelessly made these remarks.
Were abducted. My good friend Sospita, I made a commitment to the people of Kenya, and I want to look you in the face that under my administration, I do not want a situation where a Kenyan disappears. There were days when people were found 20-30 in the Vayala here, executed. I want to promise you and to promise the people of Kenya that under my administration, there will be no Kenyans in Rivayala or any other river or in any other place. If, my good friend Sospita, and I am here, if there is a family, any family, that their child or their friend or their relative went to a demonstration, whether it is last year or this year, and never came back, I want to know the names, because I will take firm and decisive action. Because as I talk to you today, I don't have a single name of somebody who has been abducted or disappeared. And the Minister for Interior, the PS for Interior is here, Raymond. If Sospita, kama uko na jina, mtu alienda maandamano, akapotea, hajulikani mahali yuko, tunataka jina yake, familia yake wakuje, patia huyu mungwana hiyo majina, we will deal with that situation. Because Kenyans have a right and freedom of association, right? Within the parameters of the law. And no Kenyan should be subjected to any inhuman treatment because of their political persuasion. The other subject you have said is what are we going to do with those who are injured? Again, we are developing a framework because I made a commitment to the people of Kenya that we are going to consider those who went through, especially the people who died in the demonstrations, how we are going to support their families to make sure that these people are attended to. Again, we are working, the Ministry of Interior is working. I assembled the cabinet the other day. They are working on the numbers, and we will see how we are going to work together on that program. Yeah, I think those are the questions that were asked. I will take another round of questions. I will start now from here.
I've used the word shamelessly. And sometimes I wonder how he gets that audacity even to make such statements, because some of these statements, if you ask me, are even unnecessary. You just rather than don't talk about it, instead of coming out outrightly like someone who is lying. Like he doesn't know anyone is abducted, and the media, even the mainstream media in this country, has been reporting exclusively about cases of Kenyans who went missing, for exercising the Article 37. Look at the three here. This is Aslam Longton, Bob Wanjigi, and Jamil Longton. The Longton brothers, the Aslam and Jamil, were all they were abducted moments after they submitted their letter of intent for protest in Kitengela, and they were arrested in connection to the protests in Kitengela. Bob Wanjigi, and the three of them had all visited Wanjigi when Wanjigi was arrested. Remember, at that time, Wanjigi was being blamed or was being accused as the person who was funding the protest. And even Jimmy Wanjigi himself, while making an address, or rather in studying solidarity with the families, clarified that the fellows that were arrested were actually arrested moments after they visited him in Kamkunji.
The country's history. I'm going to read this statement, and know that it has been compiled by all of us, because we want to send a message directly to William Samoei Ruto. Directly to him. Crooked Ruto is responsible for the illegal abductions and killings. Today, we stand in solidarity and empathy with all the families here and those who did not make it to come for their sons and daughters who have been abducted and have disappeared. It is devastating for a family and friends when a loved one disappears. Yet this is a harsh reality facing Kenya today. I myself am very touched by the plight that has been going on, and more so because Bob Wanjigi and the Longman twins came to visit me in Kamkunji after I was illegally arrested by the police. They were abducted after visiting me. This is 3 weeks now, and they have not been seen, notwithstanding a lot of the court orders. So this is a direct affront to some of us personally. Your pain is my pain. We are sounding the alarm. We are on the edge of an abyss and moving speedily in the wrong direction. We must wake up and collectively demand for truth, accountability, and justice. Many times it is said that if it happens to one, we keep quiet. It happens to another, we keep quiet. Eventually it will land in each of our doorsteps. We saw this during the abductions of so-called terror suspects. We've seen it over the years. But because there is a security team that tells us that it's for our benefit, we keep quiet. Today they have extended it to people who have been peacefully demonstrating in this country. Abductions is becoming a way of life. Extrajudicial killings, a way of life. This is not the Kenya that was envisaged even by the makers of the new constitution. The terrifying illegal abductions, enforced disappearances, and extrajudicial killings in Kenya remain a state strategy to spread terror amongst us.
So, even even, and the reason why I want us to talk about this is there is some tendency, or rather there is a feeling of let's cool up things. And there is now that broad-based government and people are moving on. But despite of that, we are still having people that disappeared and their bodies are yet to be found, whether alive or dead. Civil society groups have been moving to court. Even today they were in court. They were asking the court, and court summoned the police IG, Masengeli, to appear before justice, to appear before the court, so that they can explain about the disappearance of these fellows 2 weeks ago. And for the 5th time, the new police boss, acting police IG, has declined to have refused to appear before the court, putting the lead state attorney, General Dorcas Oduor, under intense pressure, as the Law Society of Kenya are now pushing, planning to go to court to sue the acting IG on the contempt of court charges. In fact, this, if we want to hold, if we want to be a little bit intentional about court and the justice system in this country, contempt of court, the punishment for contempt of court needs to be improved. I'm not told it is some 6 months jail time. It's normally very weak. It has to be strong. Also, nasema kwamba if you face contempt of court charges, you relinquish your position and not viable to be appointed or elected anywhere else. I think we should hold the grape, because we've realized it is a tendency that has been going on even during Matiang'i time. It was there. It is not something that is new. But as that is going on, in the National Assembly, something very interesting is happening. Not interesting rather, but it's very shocking. That the MPs, bill that was the demonstration bill 2024 that was sponsored by Ruto, the MP from Bere North, is supposed to regulate the Article 37, where the right to protest and assembly is domiciled. And I've seen people writing petitions this Thursday to Parliament seeking the Parliament to stop that. But one thing I know is whether the courts will be able to issue breaks. So I'm so keen. If you look at these abductions and the way they've been handled, an attempt to bring the perpetrators, attempt to bring the security stakeholders to book, and it's not very successful, it points up to one thing, that the country is slowly squandering Article 37. The administration is slowly killing the spirit of Article 37, and that will be a big blunder if Article 37 is quashed. And I want us to look at that. Before we look into those details, so you need to protect Article 37 by all means. I want to humbly request you to subscribe to our channel, click the notification bell, and like our videos. And thank you very much for those who supported Kilifi mission. Allow me just play for you a snippet of the success story from Kilifi. American scholar Martin Luther King Jr. said, "This country will not be a good place for any of us to live in unless we make it a good place for all of us to live in." Between 24th and 30th August, Bold Charity Network pitched tent in Magarini constituency, Gongoni, a semi-arid village in north of Kilifi. This is the north part of the coast. Combing through the villages coordinated by the village coordinators, we were able to pick 15 elderly men and women beyond 80 years living in deplorable conditions. Our intervention, after assessing the need, was based on reconstructing the makeshift shelters, issuing mattresses and food donations. Here, I met a 75-year-old Changawa Mwembegu, a widowed granny, and she paints out a picture of the house. Ukiangalia pale juu unaweza ona unaweza dhani kama mtu haishi. So this is how it looks like. Number one, this one doesn't even have the door. This is my entrance. Hii ni vile unaingia. When you get, this is the space you get into. Then this is where she is. Now this is inside. Ndio huyu ako hapa, and she'll be telling you now. This one is very very challenging. Look at the roof. So ukiwa ndani, what I was showing from outside, this is it. Benson, hebu kuja. Mama ulisema unalala wapi?
Nalala hapa chini.
Sasa hii mabati
iliwekwa kwa sababu kama kuna nyesha wasinyeshewe.
Hii mabati iliwekwa.
Hii mabati iliwekwa kama amelala hapa chini, mvua inanyesha asinyeshewe.
Na sasa kupika na pika hapa. Mama hapa chini hapa. Unalala hapa?
Nalala hapa chini.
Hamna malazi, hamna kitanda, hamna chochote.
Sina chochote.
Now guys, this one is one that really blew my mind. This is one of the 4 houses we are going to build. So this will have to bring down and put up a brand new structure. Mwambigu's house is amongst the 4 new houses we are building afresh in Kilifi. After assessing this region, we realized that one of the need that the elderly, or rather the grannies, need in this space is a decent house. Mzee Kavumbi Luganje is patiently waiting for us on the door. Seated next to him is the wife, and the grandchildren are all milling around him. The 91-year-old Kavumbi, we are told, lost his sight after a short illness in 2023, something that changed his life completely. Even though he cannot recognize the visitors in the compound, but he can listen and hear what we are saying. Here, we get to understand the real situation as we try to unravel the demand and the need.
Ndio naweza yote. Naomba babu uzidishie kutuletea baraka kama hizi. Naomba na kuamini. Amen.
Mzee, sasa sisi tunasema asante sana kwa kutukaribisha. Na wewe sasa pia upate kula na pia uweze kulala.
Unipatia
godoro.
Ewe Mungu wangu, nakuvoya maisha kwa nguvu yako. Na sina na tabu mimi na napata asaidizi na mananisaidia na nashukuru na mimi naombea na uzima. Mimi ni mtu nijeni wa Mungu. Kwa hivyo chenye vivi dereva godoro na chakula.
Amen.
In Kavumbi's need, we were able to erect the door, put the door in the house, repair. Now, let's look at this carefully. Why we must protect Article 37, the reason we must protect Article 37, according to me, are just based on this. Judiciary is more toothless and seem not to be strong enough to checkmate the executive. The judiciary cannot checkmate the executive. Remember January this year, when because on the issues of housing levy and that, the executive came hunting the judges and the chief justice, and so they came hunting anyone within the judiciary, and they were accusing the judiciary as the weak link, the weakest link that is not supporting the national government agenda. And because that, the judiciary, because we have the 3 arms, we have the executive, judiciary, and the legislature. So both, the judiciary is supposed to checkmate both the executive and the legislature. If legislature makes some laws that is outside the spirit of article, that is outside the constitution, it is the judiciary that will offer a legal interpretation. It will offer the legal advisory on it, it will stamp its authority in it. Same to executive. But the way the executive, that is, I want to believe that that bill has the spirit, has a very good backing from the executive. And part of it is to limit the excesses of Article 37. So we should not, because that is the only tool that Wanjigi remains with. And if it's taken from Wanjigi, that will be the end of it. Number two, Ruto is terrified about the Gen Z ahead of 2027. The Gen Zs have established that Article 37 is the tool they will push the president and demand answers from the president. And that is not sitting pretty well with some fellows. And so Ruto is terrified about that group. And this group has been pushing their agenda. They have been taking Ruto head on. If Parliament has failed, we'll ask about it. And then the Kenyan elections are always riddled with rigging. Hey, it's always been there. It's rigged here, left, right, and center, but you can't raise your voice because Article 37 is silenced. And lastly, the broad-based government made Parliament lose its independence. Parliament is being controlled. Even in fact, before it, there will be slightly, someone will try to challenge the status quo. But now, with the broad-based administration, we've simply killed any sort of criticism or opposition that will be coming from the Parliament. So, Article 37 is the only tool available remaining for Wanjigi. Thank you.